We Make Movies podcast, episode number 1. Welcome to the We Make Movies podcast, making the world a better place, one film at a time. And now, here are your hosts. One of them's a talented director, the other one started this podcast, Garrett and Chad. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the We Make Movies podcast, the podcast that's all about how to get your movie made, how to get it seen by other people, and how to get it awesome. I'm your host, Garrett Robinson, and with me today, as he will continue to be in the future, is co-host Chad Kukihiko, fellow member of the We Make Movies film collective. Hey, we're finally recording!
Finally. It's been months. We've been talking about this for months.
We have literally been talking about this for months.
Literally.
Like all great projects, it takes a while to get off the ground. Just like
That's
your
right.
film, dear listener.
And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
But we figured that we should start off by telling you a little bit about who we are, what We Make Movies is, and why you should give two flying fucks. Chad, do you want to start? Or two shits. Either
or
one.
two shits. Either one. Sure, I'll start. My name is Chad Kukihiko. I am the creative director of a small family production company in Los Angeles called Super Freako Productions. Also one of the organizers of We Make Movies, the LA Film Collective. And Garrett is...
I am also a director and We Make Movies participant who met Chad years ago, and he was like, "Oh, you got to come by. It's this great filmmaking group. Everybody's super awesome." I'm like, "Yeah. I've been to plenty of seminars. I've been to plenty of groups and everything." And then I showed up, and I was like, "Oh, no, like this is like pretty legit and pretty cool." So I've been coming for like 2 years now.
Yeah, and if anybody doesn't know what We Make Movies is, go check out the website, wemakemovies.org. Film collective started by Tara Samuel, Joe Leonard, and Samuel Messman in 2009, and it's basically just a bunch of people getting together to make their movies, and it just has grown and grown and grown since then until we've got, like on our Facebook page, we've got about 2,700 likes and a pretty massive database, and people show up to our writers' workshops every other week, about anywhere from about 80 to 110 at this point. It just keeps growing and growing.
Which at this point is like almost too much. I'm like we kind of need a stadium by this point. Well, not a stadium, but it's getting cramped in there.
It is getting cramped. This is true.
But it's awesome. We have more and more people coming every day. And what's more important than the number of people who come to the workshops is the number of people who leave the workshops and go make a fucking movie, because that's the point. It's not called We Make Workshops.
Right.
So anyway.
And we've done a couple of Kickstarter campaigns, and through those Kickstarter campaigns, we funded to date about 15 different short films, not all of which have been finished, but most of which have. And in June, we're going to be a part of the Hollywood Fringe Festival and showing in our WMM Fest, We Make Movies Fest, about at least maybe 18, maybe 20 short films, and one feature film that came up through the We Make Movies crew. So WMM Fest, go to wemakemovies.org/WMM Fest for more information.
And I will put that in the show notes for this episode. Sam has told me that I need to get Overnight into Fringe, so I'm sort of like, well, I'm going to do it then. So that'll finally get wrapped up and off my plate. Overnight's the short film that I shot last year, in case you're a listener and not Chad, because Chad already fucking knows. So let's get into the news items for the week. Chad, you had one first?
Yeah, I just realized that watching the whole Boston Marathon fiasco, the two brothers, how quickly they were identified and then pinpointed and caught. I mean, I'm sure a big part of how they ended up getting caught in the final moments was due to the fact that they decided to go rob a place and then shoot a MIT police officer just sitting in his cruiser. I'm sure that if they hadn't done that, they probably wouldn't necessarily have been caught so quickly, but that may not be true. I mean, the speed at which people were able to pinpoint their images, and that was amazing. And I know that this is a filmmaking podcast, but I think that that everybody, you know, it's fascinating to realize that in 2008, say, if you
Right.
wanted to shoot high def video, you had to spend maybe $100,000 on a XD camera, or however much it cost. It
Right.
was not really possible before the Red came around. You know, now in 2013, 5 years later, everybody has as good a camera, or actually better, because it doesn't, you know, it's as good a camera on their phone, and that's
Right.
amazing. That is something that I think needs to be addressed. So anyway, the guys just got caught last night. I was riveted. Well, the one got caught. The other one was run over by the younger brother.
I know.
So it's
What the hell?
I know, crazy. Anyway, the
I
details are going to come out. But you know, the main producer at Super Freako Productions, who's also my long-term girlfriend, Kendall Holly, she was a little bit freaked out, and she tends to be a little bit freaked out by the speed at which news comes out, because so often, you know, CNN saying, for instance, long before the
Right.
brothers were caught, just as they were getting identified, in fact, that they were caught, CNN putting that out and getting, you know, that kind of weirdness of the news is one of the downsides, obviously, to this speed, the way that everything is picking up. But you know, I think at the end of the day, it's definitely, there's more pros than cons. We got these guys.
Exactly. I think
You
that
know?
the only real con is when false information gets out there,
Yeah.
and you know, if somebody's wrongly accused, because I think that did happen to somebody where like
Post.
one person was like, you know, wrongly accused, and it's like, oh, this person's, you know, a person of interest.
Yeah.
And I think that people need to work more on repairing when they know that something's wrong, because that's one thing that never happens, even on like your friends on whatever. If
Yep.
they post a picture and then they find out it's wrong, they'll take it down, but they won't necessarily come back and say, hey, that picture I posted earlier. And it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's your friend, we're in LA, how much does that matter? But it fucking matters to somebody over in Boston, and they don't
Yeah.
want to go around the rest of their, you know, lives, or at least the rest of the year, being like associated with that shit.
Yeah, the New York
So-
Post posted those that photo of those two guys that had absolutely nothing to do with it, and they
Nothing.
they haven't even apologized. In fact, this group in New York right now called Animal New York, they
Right.
faked his apology for him. I don't know if you've seen this.
I
but
saw
it's
the link that you shared. I didn't get to watch it, but
Yeah.
it struck me as the same thing with the with. I just saw this on Jon Stewart this week. The Central Park Five, where
Yeah.
these 5 kids got indicted and spent years in prison, and now can't get even an apology from the city or an admission that they were wrong, even though the judge released them. It's fucking insane. So
Yeah, it's nuts.
if you are a social media guru, which you're a filmmaker, so you probably are, you just, you know, try to verify that what you post is accurate, and if it's inaccurate, just come out and just say that. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna bust your balls because you tweeted something wrong on Twitter. Everybody tweets something wrong
Yeah.
on Twitter.
I mean,
That's
I
all
do
I
think
tweet.
I do think that people are a lot more skeptical now. As soon as I heard that, you know, about the firefights going on the night before last, and that CNN said anything, as soon as I heard it was CNN saying it, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wait till I hear it from some other sources too this time, you know. So I think that there's a sort of healthy amount of skepticism that is kind of developing based on this kind of boy who cried wolf thing that seems to be happening with the speed. So I'm not as
Right.
worried about it as like Kendall is. Kendall was saying about how, you know, that she thinks it's dangerous, and but I don't think it's dangerous. I think that's blowing it out of proportion. But anyway, the point is that we have a lot of tools at our
It's great that you say this when she's not on air to defend herself.
well, I mean, you know, she wouldn't. I don't think she'd come on air anyway.
No, I don't think so
We'll get
either.
her on one. Yeah.
She's a producer, though. It's her job to worry.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, in lighter news, just let's establish some characters here. Chad is the social thinker, the philosopher, the artistic side of things. I'm the nerd. I'm the guy who gets really, really fucking excited about lightsabers and things like Star Wars 7. So, you know, if you're an independent
Somebody's got it, I
filmmaker,
guess.
that's fine, and you're probably not going to be too interested in this, but there are some updates on Star Wars 7 from this week. First of all, a whole slew of new posters came out, and the difficult thing is that I know some of them are fake, and I can't tell if others are. One of them came out, and Iron Man was in the middle of the poster, and it said Star Wars 7, and I was like, okay, so maybe not. But then there's another one that has a picture of a crashed Millennium Falcon with like half of its hull torn away, and two figures walking away from it, one in a cape, and it says every new ending is a beginning. And then I found out that Harrison Ford is like, and this is all rumor mill, but is like pretty much 90% going to be in Star Wars Episode 7. So if we get something that either heavily features or focuses on Han Solo throughout his life after Episode 6, that is going to be fucking awesome. Do you are you into Star Wars, Chad? I don't think I've ever asked you this.
I like sci-fi movies and whatnot. I'm I'm not as into it as you are. So
Clearly
I'm not. I was in a show a long time ago with a guy with Ahmed Best, who is Jar Jar Binks. So I think just that fact that I know Jar Jar has made it very, like, the whole first 3 episodes.
I'm booting you from the podcast now.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's
know.
an incredible stomper, by the way. But he
really.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of demystified the whole thing. And I'll be completely honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of what's his name, the guy, not who's the
Lucas,
director?
or...
Lucas, yes, Lucas. Sorry,
right.
I'm not a huge fan of him as a director. I think he's an unbelievable businessman, and he's clearly amazing at creating sort of technological advancements.
Right.
And that's awesome. But
right.
Anyone who says he's a great director needs to get
well,
their
but
head
he's not directing 7, right?
Oh God, thank God. Oh, that's right. J.J. Abrams is, right?
That's right.
That's right.
I'm
okay.
excited about that.
No, I'm excited about that too. Yeah.
After Star Trek, I have even more faith. I always loved Abrams. I loved him ever since. I never watched even Alias, which everybody is like, oh no, that's like classic Abrams. You have to watch it. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I loved Lost. Loved
okay.
everything about it.
Good. Someone should.
Again, yeah, exactly. Yeah, fuck you.
No, I know lots of people who do. I couldn't stand it myself. I'm a The Wire kind of guy. I need a ending.
Right.
I need to go someplace. And as soon as there was this ridiculous smoke monster or whatever the I don't know what it was in that first episode, I was done. I could tell right away that it was going to go nowhere, and that if I got invested, I would have been shafted at the end, which everybody was. So
I disagree.
Oh, you enjoyed the ending.
I think that anybody who didn't enjoy the ending didn't interpret it the same way I did. Now, maybe
you sound like a beaten wife.
No,
they're good. He was good.
Here's
a
the
good
thing.
guy.
Here's the thing. When it finished, I was like, oh, I get it. And nobody, not nobody, like me and many of my friends are like, oh, I get it. And nobody else, like a lot of people were pissed off. They're like, what the hell? They didn't explain anything. So maybe they're right. But if they're right and I'm wrong and I enjoyed the series, then
there's no such thing as right and wrong in art.
Right.
That's
exactly
the most important thing as far as I'm concerned. That's why there are 31 flavors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And probably more outside of Baskin-Robbins.
Strange analogy. I didn't totally get it, but that's cool. That's cool.
Actually not my. Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors. No, you don't know.
Yes, okay. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even claim that as my own. I got that from somebody. I can't remember who. But that's why. I think that there's a book. It's actually a comic. It's by a guy by the name of Scott McCloud. There's a few of them. One of them is called Understanding Comics, and then in Making Comics, and it's all about making comic books. And it is a big, it's a graphic novel. It's a full thing, And he gets into the different types of artists and the different types of art. And I think that was sort of one of the most concise and well, formulated concepts of different types of artists and why people are interested in different things. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in story.
Right.
I'm interested in a concise point, and I'm not even interested in originality per se. I mean, yes, things need to, you need that good Lennon and McCartney balance on whatever you do, but for it to, because you can't. But that thing about Lennon and McCartney, and the thing about every piece of art, in my opinion, is that you need enough innovation for it to keep people interested, but you also need hook. You need that McCartney hook. But if you have too much, and it's all that, then you just get this pop saccharine crap. The
Enough
best,
innovation to be new and enough
yeah,
familiarity to keep people invested.
exactly. If you have too much saccharin, that's wings, and if you have too much, like too much, innovation without anything that people recognize. Listen, there's a reason why nobody has done something before.
Right.
Just because nobody has does not mean it's a good idea to do it.
Exactly.
Anyway,
It's like learn the rules before you break them.
yeah.
Well, this was a nice little conversation train off of Star Wars 7, but
Sorry.
the last thing I want to mention on that is that there was a video that I saw this week of Harrison Ford appearing on Jimmy Kimmel, and they did a bit about Star Wars, and it's super worth watching. So I'll put that in the show notes as well. But Google it if you haven't already seen it, or if you can't find it in the show notes, because I'm notoriously terrible with those.
I want to see that. So
it's amazing,
or whatever.
Yeah, I'll post it.
So
I would play it on YouTube, but then nobody else would hear it.
Oh, I see. Okay, maybe we could set that up and do that in the future. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I don't know if we can do that, but
we got to, because I want to set up a whole video intro, and I want to be able to play things in the middle of the show, like all this cool stuff. So
let's do that. I'll help if you need it. So anyway, next bit of news is I'm sure you're probably already aware of the Free Fly Systems brand new gimbal stabilization thing called Movi. About a week and a half ago they launched it at NAB. Vincent LaFerrette has been pushing it, and Vincent LaFerrette did a really cool little short film about and it was released. I knew about it about a week before NAB, or maybe just a few days before NAB, and it's really amazing. It's the price point is a little steep. It's like $15,000 currently, but
now, real quick, I'm familiar with it because we've already talked about it. But tell the audience about this, because this Movi thing is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's like basically it's a Steadicam system, but it's basically handheld because it uses these gimbals and sensors that make sure that the camera, you're holding onto the outer edge of it, and you can hold it at a few different points, and you can turn it like this, but the camera won't move because the sensors will play with the motors, and it just keeps the camera super stable.
And if you're listening to the audio feed, trust me, what Chad just did was awesome.
If you want to see it, go to Vincent LaFerrette's Vimeo page at vimeo.com/LaFerrette, LaForet, and you can see the short film. You can see the behind the scenes video, which is also really cool because you can see it at work and see how amazing this thing is. You can be you could be like partially injured and still you don't even have to know what a Steadicam is, and still you're going to be able to use this thing without it going all crazy and weird handheld.
Yeah, a big problem that I have when I have to run camera on my own shoots is my hands are usually pretty twitchy, probably because I subsist mostly on caffeine. So it's really hard to get a smooth shot. And when I saw this guy, he's swinging his arms up and down and rotating all around the camera, and it is barely moving. It's incredible.
Yeah. He at one point in that short film, he had the camera guy basically on rollerblades, and so he was following the cab, and then he held on. This girl runs into the cab, and he skates up and follows her up into it, and he's showing her face, and he's basically just holding on to the cab as he's rollerblading next to it, and then the cab goes, and he peels off and just watches the cab drive away. It's sick. It's really
it's totally awesome.
Yeah. So
so that's something totally cool, and you should check it out. If you can't afford the $15,000 price tag, then that's definitely a rental item, like it would be for me. But I think it's well worth the rental.
They're supposed to be bringing out more cheaper versions, smaller, cheaper versions as well. So keep your eye on Free Fly Systems.
Yeah, see, it's a new form of technology, and it's sort of the thing where it's like it comes out and it costs as much as it costs, and then everybody else does a Me Too thing, and maybe it's not as good, maybe it's better, but it's probably going to be cheaper once the competition hits.
Yeah.
All right. Next point of order. In another win for nerds everywhere, Oblivion, which is a totally, as far as I've been able to determine, is a totally original sci-fi film released this weekend. Now, full disclosure, I have not seen it, neither has Chad. We have both been super, super stoked about it. The last movie that this director made, and this is his second movie ever. His first one was Tron, which was a little bit Disney, but it was still a good film. Awesome soundtrack for one thing, and so anyway, so we're super excited about it. Now, Rotten Tomatoes is kind of shitting on it. What did we see earlier? 58% critics,
58% critics, 68% public audience. Yeah,
right.
And I didn't know this is. By the way, I didn't know this was his. I didn't know Tron was his first film. How do you book Tron as your first feature film?
I actually need to do more research into this director because I want his career path.
Yeah, what the? Yeah, how? How did that guy do that?
I don't know. I'll do some research into it. I assume that it's one of these things. Mark Webb, the guy who did Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
he was a commercial director. Spider-Man was his first film. Now, I had problems with Spider-Man, but still, somebody trusted him enough to do that.
Yeah.
And so, if you get a chance like that, and you do Tron, then I could totally see somebody going on, taking you on to do Oblivion.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe commercial. Mick G was too. Not that his film was any good, but
it's a thing.
Yeah.
Apparently, what's his face? I can't remember. Anyway, there's a lot of directors that do commercials, and then all of a sudden, hey, feature film.
This thing about Rotten Tomatoes, how it gives it. Generally, I don't believe the critics so much. I tend to pay much more attention to the audience. But even then, I feel like there are certain celebrities and certain, there's certain, celebrities, filmmakers, actors that the audience, for whatever reason, but particularly also critics, it becomes a bit of a popularity contest, And I don't think that it necessarily determines how good the film is. At the end of the day, though, the popularity still can often, at least domestically, affect the number of people go see the box office. So that it's a weird sort of catch-22 sometimes. I feel like M. Night has kind of ruined his own reputation. So for instance, I wonder if his stuff is better. I mean, I don't know. I don't really care for it myself, but I don't.
See, that's the thing though. That's the thing about Rotten Tomatoes. It's not super reliable. Like, okay, so you just mentioned Shyamalan, right? Avatar: The Last Airbender, or just The Last Airbender because they couldn't use Avatar? Okay, so did you ever even see it?
I tried to watch it one time.
It's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible film.
So awful.
It's a terrible adaptation of an awesome series. If you ever watch the cartoon series, you know how awesome it is, and if you haven't, you need to. It's incredible.
I'll check it out.
I say that as an adult. I didn't watch it when I was a teenager. It's awesome. It's just good. So, terrible movie, right? And on Rotten Tomatoes, it's I wouldn't be surprised if it's below 50. I should look that up, but it's probably pretty low. Yeah. See if you can pull it up. Okay. Now, the thing is, that movie still did okay. It wasn't a box office smash, but it made its money back. It made it to the point where it was considered a success. What is it?
6%.
Oh my God!
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen anything that low. Listen, it deserves it.
Yeah.
The dialogue was like, I'll watch really bad movies to go to sleep sometimes, but it was so bad it kept me awake. I've never experienced anything like that before. Like, I watch bad movies because there's, they just lull me to sleep, but this was so bad it made me angry. The dialogue was so bad. So bad. I don't understand.
It was so terrible.
Oh my God.
But guess what? Worldwide, $317 million.
Maybe I don't know if you ever saw that the monkey. What's the name of that show? I can't. Oh God, the David Spade show where he was in was it News Radio?
Maybe.
Super Karate Monkey Death Car. It reminds me of that.
Oh, yeah.
The guy writes this book. It doesn't do so well. It's about success. It gets translated into Japanese, and they love it. So he has it translated from the Japanese back into English, and it's gibberish, but it's hilarious. It's like,
nice.
Yeah. I wonder if he wrote it The Last Airbender in Japanese and then had it translated into English. Maybe that's what happened,
That could be.
or
That could be. That would
Chinese or
make sense.
whatever. Yeah.
Holy crap! It also has a 4.5 on IMDb Pro. Good
Wow,
Lord.
that
Yeah.
is bad. Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Okay, so anyway, my point is that you can't always trust Rotten Tomatoes in terms of a film's success or its
Yeah.
quality.
No, absolutely.
And it also goes to personal taste. If it's a big sci-fi fest with a whole bunch of special effects and less content in the plot than awesomeness in the explosions and the action scenes, I will be slightly disappointed because it looks like it should be a good movie, but I'm still kind of okay with it because I like sci-fi and I like action. If the
Yeah.
technology is cool enough, it'll keep me hooked at least to that degree.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm totally gonna go see it. I'll go see it with an open mind. I'll go see it expecting it to potentially disappoint me, and then when I go, generally when I go expected to be disappointed, I'm not. I get more or less exactly what I want. You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I'm a freak for revenge movies. I love revenge movies. Like
I heard you were just a freak.
I am a freak, but I'm also very excited about revenge movies. I'm a freak who's excited about revenge movies. I love Taken, and I know it's a bad
Oh.
movie, and, but I love it.
See,
It-
but like, how do you call that a bad movie? It's not.
it's not
It's not
believable
worse.
in any way, shape, or form.
Okay,
There's
well,
so
well,
little-
sure,
Yeah,
sure, but like, neither is Die Hard. And like, okay, so is Die Hard a bad movie? It
I think
it,
that Die
it
Hard
is what
more
it is.
believable, though. I think Die Hard is more believable. I think that anyway. I mean, we
Really?
could get into yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it is a little bit more believable. I mean, we could get into the specifics. We'll plot it out one day on and put
Yeah,
on a
exactly.
wall. But I find it more. Also, I was a kid when I saw it, so maybe that's why I find it more believable. At any rate,
Yeah.
I think that I'll see this, and I like certain types of sci-fi movies too, and I'll go see this, and I'll probably enjoy it. But I don't know. I don't expect to like it as much as the Dark Knight films or
Oh yeah, for sure.
or a Kubrick film, or you know what I mean. It's at any rate,
Yeah.
it'll be fun. I just
Anyway,
think
so we'll
that-
see it. We'll see it.
yeah.
And we'll check in with everybody next week and tell everybody how good or bad it was.
Absolutely.
All right, you're up next.
More in news is We Make Movies. We partnered up with Effie Brown from Duly Noted to do this thing called the Equal Rights Project, WRITES. And this past week, we ended our submissions. We ended up with a roughly 90 feature scripts that we're going to whittle down, and Effie with some of her help, this Ruben Lim. He's another producer. They're gonna basically select 7 from the films that we give them. We're gonna give them a couple dozen films out of the 90 to choose from. We're gonna sort of take a first pass at them. Now, when they decide on 7,
Right.
they're gonna decide on 7 finalists, and on June 30th, we're gonna do a thing that's kind of like Project Greenlight and meets Shark Tank, where they're going to pitch. The filmmakers will be invited to a place in Los Angeles. We don't know where yet. We're hoping maybe Red Studios, but we'll see. We can't have no idea for sure if it'll be there. But it'll be at the
No, just
tail
make that
end.
claim right now. Make that unsubstantiated. Just do it.
It's not completely unsubstantiated, but
No,
there's a
it's-
possibility. It's going to be sort of a part of the Hollywood Fringe Festival, which is in Hollywood, and all through June. And if you've never been to the Hollywood Fringe Festival, it's a lot of fun. It's like all the other Fringe Festivals everywhere else in the world, but it's kind of new to LA. And LA, with organizations like We Make Movies, and there's a few other organizations. We're not the only ones, but things have changed
Right.
here in LA. I've been in LA for 15 years, and I think with the 7D hitting the streets, and with the ability for filmmakers to make their movies just out of their, just to just do it and then put it up on
Right.
YouTube or whatever. Things are changing, and they're changing faster here, in my opinion, than anywhere else, because a lot of the big YouTube stars are coming here and
Right.
are here already and are, hooking up with maker studios or whatever. They're just coming together, and things are changing. And so Equal Rights, we're going to hopefully these films are one of these either 1 or 7. All 7 of these films are gonna do really well. One at least is going to get a option, and a bunch of stuff that we're putting together like some free legal work and a casting director and stuff like that. But if the producers who like these films love every single one of them, they could option all of them potentially. Who
Totally.
knows? We don't even know. And if people who watch it, if producers who watch the shows and like the pitches that nobody else goes for, they could do it. And the goal here is for one of these films actually to get a budget of $250,000 from
Which
Duly
is
Noted.
awesome.
Yeah, through Duly Noted to get made. And so all these, that's what we were specifically looking for, films that could be made for $250,000 or less. So pay attention, go to, and also, like I said, it's going to be part of the Hollywood Fringe Festival, which WMM Fest is also going to be a part of. So it's going to be more information will end up going on equalrightsfilm.com. Again, WRITES film.com. And also on wemakemovies.org/WMMfest. So pay attention. If you haven't signed up for the We Make Movies email newsletters, you should go to our website. It's really easy. You can do it there. And we just released our 2013 filmmaking survival guide, which you get for free for just signing up to our email newsletter. It's a 165-page document with just chock full of information to help you make your film. So
Or
yeah.
as soon as that guy, there's a guy formatting it for ebook and for Kindle, and as soon as that guy gets off his ass, you can buy it on Amazon. But
Yes.
he's taking fucking forever.
Garrett's talking about himself right now.
I'm that guy.
In case you were wondering. Yeah.
I do this all the time on set. It's sort of like one of my signature things where I'm like, well, let the editor handle it. And like, if the camera guys like don't know me, they'll like look over and do like, dude, you never say that. Like the editor is gonna, and I'm like, guys, I'm the editor. Chill out.
Right. Talk about yourself in the third person.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
the director and the producer laugh, and then I don't want to like establish I don't want the crew to think that they're assholes. So I'm always like, let the guy who's doing that in post handle it, and then I'll just go like that's me. I'm not just being a dick, and your director isn't a dick.
Right.
All right. Next order of business is a little bit of a personal anecdote. I went to my favorite rental house this weekend, which is a place in Glendale, California, called Lightstone Rentals. You should check him out. The guy who runs it is named Ryan. He's awesome, and he kind of runs one of those things where he'll beat anybody's price. He knows all the rental houses, so it's like he doesn't care because you can't BS him. Like if you come in and say like Wooden Nickel, only charges 100 for this, he'll just call them and he'll be like, hey Bobby, what are you charging for this right now? Okay, cool. Hangs up, turns around and says, okay, I'll give it to you for 90. Like he's just like that guy. He's really, really super cool. So I went over to his place and I brought a 60D, Canon 60D, which in my honest opinion, and this is a topic for another time, is the equivalent or better of the 7D for a filmmaker. I know that the 7D has better still capability, but I love my 60D for film, and it costs $1,000 less, so yay. So he had just
Plastic
pulled in
body,
some, huh?
Plastic body doesn't have the.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just so sort of like, so what? Like
No,
I
it's fine.
don't care.
It's fine. No, I'm not saying it's a crappy camera. I'm just saying you're not going to be able to. It's just not quite as sturdy. That's the only. That's why it's $1,000 less.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue with your story.
So no, it's fine. I interrupt you. So he had just gotten in all of Canon's new Cinema EOS lenses, and so I tried that. He had some C300s, which I've been looking to rent and everything. So I tried them out on those, and they looked fantastic. And then I took them and I just popped them onto my 60D, and I recorded some test footage, which I will try to link if I can. They are incredible. First of all, fully dynamic aperture control, which if you've worked with DSLRs before, you know that you have f-stops at certain increments, and there's nothing in between. The cinema lenses, it's a dial, so you can dynamically adjust exposure during the shots.
Wow.
The focus ring, it's incredible. The focus ring, as you know, like a focus ring on a normal DSLR lens is usually 300 degrees of turn, focused all the way in and focused all the way out. The cinema lenses rotate multiple times to get from focused all the way in to focused all the way out.
Wow.
It's so like you can get so fucking fine and close. So
Can they work with a follow focus?
it does. Yeah, they have rings for that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really incredible. So, it would be even better on a full frame camera. I'm not denying that. But if you want a really cheap way to a relatively cheap way to really increase the quality of your cinematography, find a place that rents the Canon Cinema EOS lenses. That was like for me, it was one of those things. Like I did it for the first time, and I'm like, well, now I'm never shooting without one of these lenses, unless I'm making some like YouTube haha video. But like if I'm actually shooting a film, I'm getting those lenses. It's just that simple because I can get them from Ryan for super cheap because I was his second customer ever. So he gives me like rock bottom discounts. But like I'm just going to use them. So if you have a 60D or a 7D or any of the Canon EOS DSLRs, check out those lenses, and they will. I can promise you, they will make a massive difference in the quality of your picture. So that's my little shout out to Canon for the week.
Awesome. Those sound awesome.
Yeah, yeah. You should.
Aw.
I actually want to. I've got a little thing that I want to shoot. That I want to see if I can pull Denny into, and then you know what? I'll
Denny's my
take.
brother.
Yeah, sorry, Denny is Chad's brother, and also part of Super Freako, and one of my favorite DPs ever. He's just fantastic. I'll take the test footage that I shot at Ryan's place, and I'll post it. I'll post it on YouTube or something like that, and I'll include a link in the show notes. God, I'm gonna have so many fucking show notes.
Awesome. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
So next up, we have your motivational. It's motivational corner with Garrett Robinson.
Yeah, it's motivational corner. That's not a thing. I
It
wanted to
should
put
be,
this
though.
out there. Yeah, Garrett Robinson's motivational corner. Do it.
You should have a mirror. Talk to yourself in your mirror. Like
Between
Stuart
two
Smalley.
mirrors.
Gosh darn it. People like
No, yeah, they do. So I wanted to make sure that this was in the first episode. There is if you're listening to this, there's a good chance that you're an independent filmmaker. Statistically speaking, I'm not saying anything personal about you. Statistically speaking, there's also a pretty good chance that you haven't made a film yet, and that you're working on a lot of sets. Maybe you're editing. Maybe I'm totally wrong. There's lots of people out there who have, but statistically speaking, there are a lot more aspiring filmmakers who haven't made a film than aspiring filmmakers that have made a film. And I wrote a blog post not too long ago. It was not a very gentle blog post. It was titled "Shut the fuck up and create your fucking art." And I just turned it into like a free ebook and everything. But you can just Google that, and my blog post will come up. And I kind of want to just encourage you, if you haven't turned out a final product and put it out somewhere where the world can see it, go do that. You can. This is another thing I'm gonna have to link in the show notes. You can make a decent film on your iPhone these days, and I'm gonna link a film that's on YouTube called Operation that was made exclusively on the iPhone. Now the premise is ridiculous. The story is it's not an epic sweeping tale, but you look at what these guys shot on their iPhones and with like work lights that you can buy for $5 at Home Depot, and you're like, holy shit. So saying that you don't have like equipment or cameras or whatever, I would like everybody that's listening, if you never have done something before and you know who you are, get out there and do something. And if you will produce, let me just write down for the show notes. If you will produce something and tweet it to me at GBR0Binson, GB Robinson, but with a 0 instead of an O. If you'll tweet it to me, I'll retweet it and make sure that it gets retweeted in the We Make Movies festival. If it's your first project ever, if you've never done anything before and you hear this, make it, tweet it to me. I'll retweet it, and I'll make sure it gets tweeted in the We Make Movies feed so that other people can see it, because I just feel like people need to do something. You learn more by getting a completed product done than by any amount of film school. And that's why the most successful film schools have you make films as part of the program. You don't learn You do learn from reading books and from attending seminars, but you don't learn as much as you do as just being the fuck out there, rolling a fucking camera and turning over a final edited product. Um, I learned I learned a lot, studying and reading books and working on sets, but I didn't learn nearly as much as I did as when I just went and made my first short film, edited it, did my mix, and I put it out there. And now I've got a few out there, and overnight's going to be awesome. And it wouldn't be awesome if I hadn't learned so much from doing the ones that I've already done. So this is your weekly, or your first time, I guess, encouragement to go out there and do something. And again, tweet it to me, and I'll make sure it gets out there to as many people as I can.
I'd like to add a little correlation to that. Ira Glass
Do it.
from This American Life was saying in a story, and I'll make sure that this link gets posted. There's a video on YouTube where he talks about this specifically. He takes it to the next level and says, after you've done your first thing, he says a lot of people who are starting off in any art, and I'm sure filmmaking is the same way, after they do their first thing, they look at it, and 9 times out of 10, because their taste is killer from go,
Right.
but their skills are not yet, they look at it and they think, oh, that's awful. And they stop right there. And what Ira Glass says in this thing, and like I said, I will post a video. It's amazing. And by the way, if you've never heard This American Life, I think it's just AmericanLife.org. It's an incredible show. It's my very favorite radio broadcast. You need to check it out. Anyway, it just says you have to realize that your taste is so much better than your skills when you're starting off, and that you just have to practice to make sure that you get your skills up. So I completely agree with Garrett. All I'm saying is that, let's say you've already done something,
Right.
and you thought it was awful, and so you've given up. Don't give up. Your taste
Right.
is awesome. Eventually, your skills will match your taste. So just keep going and
Yeah.
get your skills up to that level. Anyway, that was my little.
And I mentioned that in that blog post that I referenced, and then there in another blog post, somebody gave me really good advice once upon a time. It said, make a film, any film that you possibly can, then and get it done and out into the world, and then make another film, a better film. So it was make a film, make a better film, and then make the best film that you can. So it's make the first film no matter what. You just get it the fuck done. And then you make another one that's better. Don't worry about it being perfect, just worry about it being better. And then once that one's done and out there, make the best film that you possibly can based on what you've learned from the first two. Don't worry about the quality on the first one. Worry less about the quality on the second one than just also getting it done and learning more. And then take your time with the third one. Do as best as you possibly can. Get the best people that you possibly can. Get as good of a script as you possibly can. Because there are certain things that you can't learn other than by practicality. So if you try to make your first project perfect, and like perfect, then it just 99% of the time it won't be your standard of perfect. Exactly like Chad was talking about. I can tell a bad movie from a good movie easier than I can direct my own standard of a good movie. I realize that Overnight, when it comes out, is not going to be The Godfather. I'm okay with that because I am a developing filmmaker. I'm still learning. I still have time, and so do you.
What's that saying? Films are not finished; they're abandoned.
Right.
I mean, the truth is that perfection in any art form is just an impossibility. You just got to
Right.
get better and better and better, and that's the key. Just stick with it and keep doing. Anyway, I'd like to jump off to the next thing, if that's
Do it.
The Long Tail. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this book. It's written by Chris Anderson, who's one of the editors over at Wired. And The Long Tail,
it'll be in the show notes.
It's an amazing book, and it basically describes what is happening to what the internet and other recent technological advancements have done to the world. And you've probably already noticed, I was speaking about it earlier, that it's much more, it's far simpler now and more economical to make a film. It's also more economical, and not just a film, but a book. I don't know if you know somebody who's written and published their own book. It's totally possible, totally easy to do. And I know that Garrett already has another podcast or maybe 3 about the same subject. So Garrett's done it several times.
and
So
and 15 published books. So
yeah, right, absolutely. So the point is that that's what the long tail is all about. It's so easy to make stuff now compared to 5-10 years ago, and make sure that people know about it and to distribute it. And this book, The Long Tail, there's some misconceptions about it. If you've already heard about it, The Long Tail it's hard to describe just off the top, but it's basically the fact that everybody's doing stuff and everybody has it out there. And so now you can have a long story short is that you have an audience, no matter who you are, whether your audience is about the same size as the people probably watching this podcast right now, maybe 1 or 2, maybe nobody, you know what I mean? Whether your audience is like
two live viewers. We don't know who you are, but hey,
oh, how do you see that? I don't even know that. That's awesome.
It's right up at the top of the Google Hangout thing.
Could that include us? Maybe that's us.
No.
Okay.
If they tweet to me though, I will give them a shout out in the show, I guess.
Excellent. Anyway, the long tail, it's not automatically good news. Just having an audience doesn't necessarily mean you're going to succeed as an artist. And I think that it's important for people to understand that part of it. You have to push yourself up into like the less low part of the tail. You need to get up into the, get 100 viewers, get a larger audience, get your audience big enough till you can survive. That's where the long tail gets actually important for people. Just because you have an audience doesn't mean you're going to survive off it. Listen to that audience, get more of an audience, and recognize that everybody else and his mom is out there doing basically the same thing you are right now. So the key is just keep getting better at what you're doing. And keep reaching out to your audience and trying to stay in touch with them as much as possible and to grow them and create sort of a personal connection. There's a saying that 1,000 true fans, once you have 1,000 true fans, you are viable. You can survive as an artist. And I don't know
Right.
That was like a year and a half ago that was out, and things change so fast. Just getting 1,000 true fans might be a little nuts. But you look at some of these YouTube people who are doing well. 1 million subscribers. You have 1 million subscribers, you're golden. If you have a few 100,000, you're fine.
Yeah.
So, but obviously if you're like, Jenna Marbles and you have 8.5 million, that's better. You know what I'm saying? But the key is understand that the long tail does not automatically mean you're going to be successful. You still have to be smart. And you still have to work your tail off, and you still have to produce good quality products. Just keep doing it, keep getting better, and keep interacting with your audience.
There's an infographic about the long tail, isn't there? Isn't it sort of based on a bit of a visual concept where it's sort of like a cine wave?
Well, it basically, like, let's say here, I don't know if you guys can see it here.
If
Let's
you're
say
on
that
YouTube, you can see this. If you're listening on the audio, you're about to get really pissed off.
well, you have a regular XY axis, right? On the X-axis along the bottom, you have the number of products that you sell. Let's say you're a bookstore, you're not Amazon. So you have a limited shelf space. You have a limited number of books you can fit into your shop. And you put on a graph in order from the highest selling to the least selling. And then on the y-axis, you put the number of each unit that you sell. And so your graph, back before the internet, it used to look just like this. It used to, dip down, and basically what that meant is that the stuff that sold the most, the top 20% of your inventory made up 80% of your income, and that was called the 80-20 rule. And so back in those days, when the 80-20 rule was in full effect, it was all about the number of hits, because your profit, how much money that you made, depended on how much of your profitable books, because the 80% of your inventory only made 20% of your income. It didn't really matter that much. But that all changed when that limited shelf space thing went away. And all these aggregators, iTunes, Amazon, all these guys who do business on a large scale and in digital products in particular, that x-axis no longer stops. That x-axis now keeps going and going and going and going and going. And back in the day, whereas if you would sell like on this end of the tail, one or two of these books, each of these books, every 3 months, you would get those. You didn't care about those. You'd get them off your shelf because it used to make up like a fifth of 1%. But
Right.
now that part, because it's so big, makes up sometimes up to 30 to 40% of the income. So that 80-20 rule is shot all to hell. And we're no
Exactly.
longer this hit-based culture. We're now a niche-based culture where you
Exactly.
can know something that 99% of your friends don't even know about, but you have this whole other virtual group of people that you connect with all around the world. Maybe there's only a few dozen of you, but you all love a very, very particular type of anime. That's fine. And the person who creates that anime, if they have a big enough niche, then they're viable and they can do what they want.
And
Anyway,
otherwise, they're
that's
just an artisan. Like a good example that's very real to me in my life right now is I have a book out, shameless plug time, called Non-Zombie, which is the most popular book that I've written. It's a very it's along the lines of Zombieland. It's a very humorous post-apocalyptic zombie story. It only sells like a few copies a week right now, and it spikes every time I write a new one in the series and whatever, but it's not, it sells a few copies a week. Now, if that were in a bookstore, they would have ditched it a long time ago.
right.
But it's Amazon, and there are millions of people just like me, or maybe a million or hundreds of thousands of people just like me, and they only sell a few copies a week. But that adds up to millions of copies per week because they've got so many people just like me who are just selling one or two copies a week. So while we are, and it's not really like Amazon screwing us, they are an aggregator. They are giving us all a place to sell and hopefully make it and hopefully expand our niche and get a bigger audience. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, they're making 30% royalties off of millions of dollars spread across hundreds of thousands or millions of
Yeah.
content creators. So that's how they are successful about it. And it's that idea. I'm one in the crowd right now, but I'm
Right.
trying to move up. I'm trying to move more into that small percentage who just does really, really, really
Right.
well. And it may take me a while to get there. I'm fine with that. I just enjoy what I'm doing very
Right,
much.
right. Yeah, for people who are doing this stuff as a hobby, if they make just a little bit of money, that's just extra money. If they have another job or whatever. So it's
Right.
anyway, that's the long tail. It's the part of that graph that this thing that didn't exist before. This part way down here that just goes for like city blocks. That's the long tail, and that's where non-zombie is right now. But you
Yeah.
want to push it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that leads into a little spiel that I wanted to go over. Once a week, each of us is going to cover kind of a bigger topic. And this week I've volunteered to do my topic. And fortunately, the long tail conversation goes directly into this. And this is about what the long tail basically has kind of forced into art. Now, is this sort of a problem based on having way too much to choose? Like back in the day, prior to the long tail, we had a scarcity of material we could choose from, scarcity of movies, books, etc. to watch. And now there's everything is out there. I mean, this past decade, we've witnessed innovation after innovation in cameras, editing software, online distribution opportunities like YouTube and Vimeo, etc., that now make it possible for just about anybody to create video content. And today, in the spring of 2013, most cell phones, like I said earlier, have the ability to capture video that like 6 or 7 years ago would have cost
Right.
$100,000 to get a camera that did comparable video. And it's starting to seem like every time we hit some kind of independent filmmaking hurdle, all we have to do is wait a couple weeks and somebody has solved that problem, created some sort of relatively inexpensive way to jump over that hurdle. And there are now mini helicopter drones that can get your camera flying through the air with ease and unbelievable stability. This Movi thing we were talking about earlier, there are apps that allow you and a couple of friends to be shooting video at the same time and merge those videos into a single multi-track video. And this stuff just keeps coming every single day. These innovations keep coming, lowering the bar to make it easier and easier for people to produce high quality video for less and less money. So everybody's making movies. And they're not necessarily movies in the traditional sense. They don't necessarily have scripts or even concepts. But right now, a sizable chunk of the 72 hours of video that is uploaded to YouTube every minute. That's right, 72 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube every minute. And a sizable chunk of that consists of how-to videos, for instance. Just people teaching other people how to, like change a bike tire or park and not necessarily even well, by the way, just putting it up there. Or you could learn how to park a Mini Cooper in an extremely small garage, videos like that. And the point is that we used to live in this world where there was a scarcity of content, but those days are gone, and we're never going to see them again. Now we live in a world with an abundance of content, so much content, in fact, that most of it just turns into white noise, like loud, obnoxious white noise. So how do you find the good stuff becomes the question. How do you find those diamonds in the rough? And also, even more importantly for us, how do we get other people to find my diamond in their rough, right?
Right.
That's the one innovation that nobody has figured out yet. They call this the signal and the noise. That's the problem is that there's so much noise now that how do you find the signal you want? How do you get your signal through that? And I think that there could be some kind of innovation. We need to come up, somebody in Silicon Valley needs to come up with some personal content curation system, something that can connect people with their diamonds, with their individual diamonds. I mean, maybe Google has enough information on each and every one of us that maybe they'll be the ones. I don't know, but somebody needs to figure it out, because until then we're kind of forced to use our social networks and the word of mouth, although it's word of fingers, I don't know, and Reddit, stuff like that, to hack and slash our own way through that noise and try to find that signal for ourselves. So until somebody does that, I think that we're going to continue to have this problem. But as soon as somebody figures that out, as soon as some solution to this, that's the next. In fact, that's the next innovation that needs to happen for things to really get interesting in the indie filmmaking world, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. That will be you see people trying. You see people trying different things, trying to. The proliferation of, in a separate but related industry, the proliferation of internet radio, Pandora and Spotify and all of these places, they're trying to feed you, they're trying to figure out what kind of music you want to listen to before you even know it exists.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they throw unwritten law at me and I want to throw my computer through the window. And then sometimes they give me Enter the Haggis, and I'm just like, holy shit, I believe,
I don't even know what that is, but the title is so awesome.
They're so amazing, so amazing. Enter the Haggis. Listen,
check them out. Netflix has already been doing it. The problem is that the source material that they're using is limited, and now the content is so massive that whatever algorithm they're using, either it doesn't take into account everything that's out there, or it cannot, and they need to come up with something new. Or
it's operating on there isn't an easy way to say like how films relate to each other. So just because I watched and loved Godfather doesn't necessarily mean that I'll like Goodfellas or vice versa. And so it's like, how do we know? But they're experimenting all the time. And it will either come through somebody who just says, I've got it. Or it'll come through a long, gradual evolution of making it easier and easier and easier to find things. I mean, you open up YouTube these days, and it says, we recommend you watch this. And you know that they're collecting data where people will either watch it or they won't. And if they do watch it, then they'll say, oh, we were right. And if they don't, then it will reduce the strength of that relationship in their algorithm. So I see it maybe happening as an evolution.
Maybe. I hope so. I just hope it happens. I mean, I think
I know.
at any rate, I think we need to wind it up. We've definitely gone
We
over
do.
an
Yeah,
over limit.
okay. So last things to know, Chad mentioned this briefly. The hover cam, I got a chance to see it in action this week. It's a new thing released by JPL Laboratories. I think the cost to buy it is only $1,000, which is crazy cheap.
Wow.
It's a drone. It's literally a drone. It's about 2 foot square. It's got 4 rotor blades on the corners, and there's a GoPro attached to it. The GoPro, you can get an attachment for the hover cam where the GoPro sends its video feed to a transmitter, which transmits to a pair of goggles, which you wear as goggles, and you can see what the goddamn drone
That's
is
crazy.
seeing. So I'm going to be using this in an upcoming project. I'll share footage with you as soon as I have it. But meanwhile, I'll try to include a link to the hovercam in the fucking show notes.
I've seen some footage from it. The truth is that it's definitely cool, and you can take it really high. And you should be careful about some of the air laws, the laws about
Right.
how high things can go. You can get away with it because but probably in about 6 to 10 months, when everybody and his mom has a drone of their own, it's probably going to be a little bit more strict. But it's a little wobbly, is the truth. The smaller ones are a little bit wobbly. So, but
Right.
you can fix that in After Effects. It'll crop in a little bit and
Yeah.
smooth it out for yourself. But the bigger ones in Free Fly Systems has their own, which is obviously a lot more expensive. But
Right.
but they have one as well with like 10 rotors that apparently is really sturdy. So anyway, it's
Awesome.
very cool innovations in that. I also want to talk. I read this thing about a week and a half ago on IndieWire about the Vine app, iPhone, which allows users to post unedited, or sometimes you can do sort of stop motiony things, but you can't edit them after the fact. 6-second looping videos. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the guy who wrote this, John, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but I think it's Fogner over at IndieWire. He seems to think that indie filmmakers are going to start to do some really interesting things. It's basically, you do these 6-second videos and then you post them and you can tweet them on Twitter and whatnot.
Nice.
Anyway, John Fogner seems to think that indie filmmakers are going to start to do some interesting things. I'm a little bit skeptical of that, but I'd like to be proven wrong. So I guess only time will tell.
Sweet. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this week's episode. Check out the website, wemakemovies.org. We will be posting the episodes there on the WordPress RSS feed, so you can leave comments on the posts. We would love to hear from you. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us a review. My blog is GBR0Benson, and you can find Chad at superfricoproductions.com.
Superfrico.com.
Superfrico.com.
Yeah, but both work.
All right, that's
Or
it for today.
blogfrico.com. Blogfrico.com, yes.
Okay, blogfrico.com, superfrico.com, one of those two. All right, everybody, that's it for this morning. See you next week.